Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to fly the HORZION 787-9 once again. Beautiful airplane, and we're flying it from a beautiful city, namely we are standing right here in Toronto from Flight Tampa, and we're going to fly it over to FSIM Studios Vancouver Airport. Beautiful weather along the route. I do hope that we're going to have some lovely views, and then we are going to have some overcast leading us over the mountains into Vancouver. This does promise to become an interesting route, and well, I do hope that you are going to enjoy this one as much as I will. So before we start, let's have a quick look into the flight plan, and then we are going to make a fuel decision here before we start with the airplane setup. And here is our operational flight plan right from the Navigraph chart app. So we've got Canada Flight 107, real-life flight operated on the Boeing 787 between Toronto and Vancouver. So let's go ahead and have a look at the weather forecast. We don't need to bother with the US segment here, we're not going to fly there. So our destination Vancouver is generally forecasting good weather conditions with easterly winds, and that all seems well within limits. Our alternate today is going to be Seattle, and Seattle, as you can see, has got very good weather conditions as well. So with that, basically we don't need to look at many more airports. We do have a scheduled minimum fuel here of 26 tons, and I would say if we just make that, say, 27 to cover for any possible unforeseen circumstances, then according to this one up here, we can see that we've got about half an hour extra fuel by the time we arrive at our destination, and that should be more than sufficient for what we want to do today. To have a quick overview of the flight, let's have a quick look at the maps over here. So if we have a look at the significant weather chart, we can see that over here we've got a light marked area, that's number 3. And number 3, as we can see, is turbulence up to flight level 380. We should be cruising in level 400 today, so I'm not really worried about that. And then later on the arrival, close to that Suka airport up here, we've got number 2, and that is until level 320, again, some turbulence. So nothing to worry about. And then finally, number 1, even though that is slightly outside the area that's actually marked on the chart, turbulence from level 340. So when we briefed the cabin crew, we told them that we can expect a little bit of turbulence on the descent into Vancouver, probably. Okay, so that's pretty much our weather preparations, and that is basically all that we need to do over here. So let's go ahead and dock our jetway, and then we can head right into our aircraft. So handling by Swissport, please, and you can start with our setup. Okay, so right into the airplane and onto the captain's seat today. Okay, so battery can come on, hydraulics are off, landing gear lever is down, and the alternate flaps are off. Perfect, then we can go ahead and turn on the external power, and well, we even have an aft external power today, which is not usually connected to the airplane, but well, if they give it to us, then we are obviously going to use it. Okay, so our flight can be initialized right down here. Data load, well, not yet, but hopefully they're going to implement something interesting soon there. I have a feeling that we are getting something. Alright, for our airplane itself, let's go on to the settings at first, and we are going to take things directly from our SimBrief flight plan. So, weight and balance, and we are going to set that from the operational flight plan. As we just said, we take 1,000 more, so 27,000 kilograms of fuel are what we are going to take. Why is that invalid? 27,000. Alright, now it works. That's fine for me. We do have quite a bit of cargo here on this route, but that is probably realistic. Alright, excellent. So then let's go ahead and turn on our 2 IRSs, and a quick look at our oil quantity is looking good, and looking over at the hydraulic quantities, that's good. There are no status messages. Oxygen is sufficient for our flight, and in terms of error messages that we have here, anything interesting on here? Doesn't really look like it, huh? No, nothing interesting here. Okay, perfect. So with that, we are pretty much set up to start our CDU pre-flight, while the pilot monitoring is going to do the walk around. Now, the particular livery that we're flying today comes from J Aviation on flightsim.io, and he did a couple mods to the external part of the airplane, so we are actually quickly going to go out and going to perform a little walk around just to see what everything looks like right over here. So follow me as we'll start the walk around. We'll start up here on the static ports, and of course we're seeing good ports up here, nothing obstructed, and then we can move a little bit further forward to the front. External power receptacle. Okay, interesting. Nothing in here. Would be nice to actually have a visual model of the external power, but I suppose we can't have everything. Okay, so the front landing gear strut is looking good, and there are no damages or anything the likes. And then we can go to the front. Pitos are looking good. AOA probe, I do believe that is one, even though it does look a bit different from what we have usually, is looking good as well. Okay, so plane from the front is looking good. No signs of damages or anything the likes. And down here, ice detectors are looking good, and the probes are okay. So, crew oxygen discharge. That's something that might be worth talking about, what that is. Now, you can see a little green disc in here, and that disc actually is indicating to us that there has not been an overpressure situation in the oxygen bottles for the flight crew. Now, if there was an overpressure in there, if something might be not normal with the oxygen system, then that green disc would probably be gone or maybe change color, and that would be an indicator to us that maintenance would be needed on the flight deck oxygen system. Okay, then we can move on. The cargo doors are looking good, the static ports are looking good. So the oxygen intakes over here, and the landing lights are looking good, and so is the leading edge. Coming on to our engines, no damages to the fan blades, and the oil doors are closed, and the engine hatches are closed as well. Okay, the leading edge of our wing is looking good, no sign of any visible damages. Should probably have turned the lights on before. In the sim I always tend to forget. In the real world it's just so much more obvious, like one pilot is in the seat, the other says they're going out for the walk around. Alright, perfect trigger that you still have to turn those lights on. Okay, so the landing gear is looking good, the tires are in a good condition, and there are no visible damages, so everything's looking good over here. Leading us on to the aft cargo compartment, no damages, especially in the area of the cargo doors. You should always have a close look whether there are any dents in the fuselage, as that is more likely to happen in this part of the airplane than in any other. Okay, so the outflow valve is open. Or is that the APU intake actually? No, I think the APU intake is located on the top of the plane. But we don't see anything here. Okay, fair enough. Well, so leading edge of the stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer are looking good as well. Leading us over to the other side. I'm kind of curious though where the air inlet is for the APU in the 787. Never seen it. If you know, please do put it in the comments below. I would surely be interested. Okay then, moving forward to the front of the plane, and the landing gear is looking good. No damages to any of the tires, no fluid leaking out or anything. That's very good, and the inboard tires are good as well. Okay then, aft part of the wing is okay, and then moving to the front part of the wing, leading edge is also looking good, leading us down to the engine. Quick look inside from the aft part, and then a quick look at the side. Doors and hatches closed, and latches in place. Alright, so there are no damages on any of the leading edges. We can quickly see that over here, and the inboard part of the engine is looking good as well. And with that, our walk around is completed, so let's go right back up, and we are going to go back into the cockpit for the pre-flight procedures. So here we are, 5 more minutes for the IRS alignment. If we do have a look at the doors, they did open the front one. We can operate the cargo door as well over here. And if we go into the performance, then let's say we've got a dry runway over here. For the wind, we'll just take 0. So temperature is 11 degrees and the QNH we'll come up with in a moment. So OAT 11. Interesting, wind 0 is not recognized, it seems. Perhaps 0/0 to be a bit more conservative, that seems to work. Okay, and for the QNH, let's see if we just hit that B button. Actually, nothing over there. Well, let's just quickly check the... Let's just quickly go ahead and request the latest weather then. So, company, weather requests, and we're looking for Charlie, Yankee, Yankee, Zulu. Actual and forecast, please. Send that out. In progress, then we'll just get the latest weather anyway. Okay, sent, thank you. And here it is, so 2992, okay. Perfect, and the actual wind is headwind 140 at 9. Well, we might just as well enter that. Okay, and in here we got 29.92. Okay, excellent. So, takeoff weight from our flight plan. Let's have a look at that. 187,059, so 187.1 plus the 1,000 kilos extra fuel we took. Let's make it 188.5 and then we should be on the conservative side here. So, 188,500. We've got the thrust rating and optimum, the flaps config optimum, anti-ice, auto, and 0 fuel weight. Why do we need the 0 fuel weight? Really not sure about that, but if they want it, okay. That's 161,500. And the center of gravity, I don't know, probably around 28 or something. Okay, the rest will have to be imported. Well, that is fine. Okay, cool. So that stuff is looking good. We can already clear that out again. Thank you. And off we go with our FMS pre-flight. Clear that, thank you. Alright, 787-9 GENX engines, database is current, Horizon Sim version 1.1.2. Onto the position in it where we're going to copy the GPS and we are going to import our route from SimBrief. So request is in progress, it does take a little while. In the real world usually something between 10 to 30 seconds or something. Okay, flight plan is ready. Let's load it up. And here we go. So execute that. Departures, and we're going to take runway 15 left today. Our sit is going to be the AFSAP 7 departure. Here we go towards Muset. Alright, execute that, and for the arrival, we'll take the ILS Zulu approach runway 8 left with the Canuck 5 arrival, and that one's coming from Booth. Okay, looking good. So, quick check over the actual route over here. So, we are flying the AFSAP 7 towards Muset, direct Sierra Sierra Mike, direct Imoba, direct Yankee Quebec Tango, Juliet 500, Victor Bravo India, Juliet 504, Yankee Bravo Romeo, direct Medak Quebec 888 Booth, and then the Canuck 5 arrival. That's looking good. So, ground distance 1875, and if we check that in the flight plan, we're looking at 1882. That is close enough for me, so good to go with that. Alright then. So, for the legs then, let's go ahead and request the latest wind data. Should be there any moment. Yep, load. And then we can grab the same thing for the climb forecast, load, and also for the descent forecast. Load that as well. Thank you. So, on the VNAV page, we've got transition altitude 18,000. RadNav Don't really need anything. And finally, let's go ahead and insert our departure airport with the runway track 147 for our engine out. Okay, that is looking good. And we'll also take a 25-mile ring for the sake of it. Alright, looking good. So then on to the init ref. And over here, fuel, we've got a reserve of 2.4 for the diversion plus 2000 kilos, so we're looking at 4.4 for the reserves. Zero fuel weight today, 161.5. Cruising flight level 400 is correct, cost index 30, cruise CG 30, and step size is going to be ICAO, but we are not going to do step climb anyway out of 400. Alright then, onto the takeoff page, and number 2, so we are going to do acceleration at 1000 and thrust reduction also at 1000, reference temperature 11, the wind 140 at 9. And that gives us 9 knots of headwind, 0 slope, dry runway, looking good. Okay, and with that we are pretty much done with our FMS setup. So let's now move through the cockpit for the pre-flight. So nothing down here. Flight deck door power on, emergency lights armed, window heat on. Fueling is completed, so passenger signs coming on. Then on the next side there is pretty much nothing down here except that we can turn the anti-ice to auto and turn the nav lights on. And finally on the third side we can turn the packs on, and that's it. Leading us down to the glare shield then, traffic on, and looking into the menu we'll also take the airports please. So then, door forward cargo and cabin temperature. What's the cabin temperature looking like? That's fine, 18 degrees. Don't need to worry about that. Cancel that out, please. And that caution should definitely have gone out before, but that's fine. Okay, so flight director's on. And on the other side we'll also take traffic, and we are also going to take the airports. Thank you. Alright, perfect. So, on to the checklist then. Actually, I tell you what, should have done that on the left side. So, reset all. Thank you. Then moving down, would be lovely to have the standby on inches, but the button is unfortunately not simulated. So auto brake is on RTO, and then moving down we get to the comms. So let's take 1 to 2.8 active in radio number 1 and 1 to 1.5 active in radio number 2. Okay. So, transponder, give me standard IFR squawk here, 2000, and the rest of it is looking good. Alright, perfect. So with that, our pre-flight procedures are basically done. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and start with our briefing. So I don't have any threats for this departure. Do you see any? No? Awesome. Okay, so for the route check, we're going from Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu to Charlie Yankee Victor Romeo, Alpha Charlie Alpha 107. Our route is via the AFSEP 7 departure, direct Muset, direct Sierra Sierra Mike, direct Imoba, direct Yankee Quebec Tango, Juliet 500, Victor Bravo India, Juliet 504, Yankee Bravo Romeo, direct Medak, Quebec 888 to Booth, and we've got a ground distance of 1877 versus 1884, that's close enough. 7.6 tons remaining versus 4,400 required, that is roughly half an hour of extra fuel. Okay, UTC time 1554, altimeter 2992, reading 560 feet, flight directors are on, and the standby instrument is set. It's going to be a left seat takeoff, runway 15 left, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2, LNAV VNAV in use, and then we're going to get radar vectors towards our first fix, which is just off to the right hand side over here, so it's actually not going to be too complicated of a departure. Now, in case of any emergencies, Before 80 knots, I will abort for anything. Above 80 knots, I will only abort for fire warning, engine failure, predictive wind shear warning, or if the aircraft is unable or unsafe to fly. If I call stop, I will simultaneously close the thrust lever, disengage the auto thrust, apply maximum manual braking, or verify operation of the RTO auto brakes. I will manually raise the speed brake lever and apply maximum reverse thrust. When the aircraft comes to stop, I will set the parking brake. Okay, thank you. If you call stop, I will note the brakes on speed, call speed brakes up or speed brakes not up, and thrust reverse normal or abnormal indications. I will call 100 knots, 80 knots, 60 knots, and the runway distance remaining. I verify your actions and call any emissions. I will call auto brake disarm and select flap 40 when the parking brake has been set and advise ATC of the reject. Okay, thank you. We then identify the failure and carry out angels as appropriate. If we decide to evacuate the aircraft, we redo the evacuation checklist. Time permitting, we'll pull the CBRCB, you grab the lid, and then we get out. So, if the call before we is keep going, there will be no actions below 400 feet except to cancel any warnings and raise the land gear with a positive rate of climb. 400 feet, verify heading select and carry out the memory items. At the MFRA, we're going to buck up and retract the flaps and schedule. Flaps front rollout, select level change, max continuous thrust, engage the automatics, normal checklist, POC in its PA, and then we come up with a plan. So, for our taxi, we've got quite an easy plan actually. Let's have a look into the Navigraph charts over here. So, we are parking right over here at Terminal 1. It's going to be a pushback with a nose to the right-hand side. Then taxi out via Alpha Lima, Alpha, Charlie, and... tell you what, probably going to be Delta instead. Then crossing 33 right. So, via Alpha, Delta, cross 33 right, and then via Delta. I'm talking nonsense. We're not departing off 6, we're departing off 15 left. So it's actually going to be nose to the right hand side. And then Alpha Kilo. Straight ahead, right turn onto Bravo, crossing runway 23, and then 15 left for our departure. Now, for the SID itself, if we have a quick look at that, we're looking at runway 15, that's on here. Okay, so it's going to be on the runway track, 2,000 feet. Expect radar vectors to Beauval, and then from Beauval we join the SID. In terms of cleared altitude, what do you think it is? Maintain 5,000. And I do agree on that. And 5,000 is set. Okay, perfect. In case of any engine out, the MSA is 3,100, so if we just go straight, climbing to 4,000 feet, that's going to keep us safe. And in case of an immediate return, we are... actually, are we below the max landing weight? I think we are. Yes, we are indeed. So we're below the max landing weight. That means we can return immediately if we have to. Do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on the briefing? No? Awesome. Okay, that's very good. Then let's go ahead and fire up the APU and do the pre-flight checklist, please. Okay, pre-flight checklist, complete. That's very good. Then we are pretty much good to go. So just waiting for the APU to come up, and then I'm quickly going to say hello to the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel, and in the name of Air Canada, you're welcome aboard our Boeing 787 on our flight to Vancouver. Flight time today, 4 hours and 10 minutes. We expect a smooth ride at 40,000 feet. So, I would like to thank you very much for being our guests today. Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. If there is anything we can do for you to make it more comfortable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our cabin crew. But for now, please listen carefully to their safety demonstration, as that is not just for you, but also for the safety of the people sitting around you. Again, thank you very much for being our guests. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. Okay. So, I tend to say we are about good to go. Let's go ahead and order our pushback and see what is going to happen. Pushback is on request. APU is on the bus. That is looking very good. Okay then, let's go ahead and start with our performance. So, how much did we actually load up now? Let's see that. Zero fuel 161.5 is correct, bringing us to 188.5. And that's pretty much what we've selected here as well. So, copy FMC data, please. That is all looking good as we've planned it. So, run the calculation. And here we go. Send output. Thank you. Accept. And the thrust limit is going to go on climb 2. The rest is looking good. Let's just get rid of this, please. Thank you. Okay, 5.25 units of trim. So, runway heading was 148 if I'm not mistaken. 147 actually. And that is set. Awesome. So then, trim 5.25 units. Coming up. In case you didn't know, anything in the green band is actually safe for takeoff. But nonetheless, the more precise it is, the less work you will have to do in case you experience an engine failure. The trim unit you've got over here is usually spot on for V2 to V2 plus 15 in case of an engine out. That is what it's made for. Okay, before start checklist please. Passenger signs. On MCP. V2 158, heading 147, altitude 5000. Takeoff speeds, V1 144, VR 149, V2 158. CDU pre-flight completed, taxi and takeoff briefing completed, holding at beacon. Can't switch the transmitter button to flight interphone unfortunately, but the good news is that typically on Boeing aircraft the button for the push to talk is split into two parts. You press the upper part, you talk on the interphone, you press the lower part, you talk on the ATC channel, or rather on the channel that's selected on the audio control panel up here. So, like that, still no problem talking to the ground crew, even if the button is inoperative. Ground from cockpit? Go ahead. Okay, so, please confirm outside checks completed, doors and hatches closed, and the ground equipment is removed. Yes sir, that's all complete, and we're ready to push. Roger, stand by. Okay, continue pushback, nose is going left as briefed, and the pushback is cleared so the beacon can come on. Okay ground, we're clear to push with the nose to the east, runway 15 left, park and brake is set. Roger, release brakes. Brakes are released. Downward push, stand by for engines. Roger. Okay, so off we go. Nose left is probably going to push us onto here to that line, I suppose. But let's see what is actually going to happen. Now tell me, looking at that 787, it's just a beautiful airplane, isn't it? I really like the lines and the shape of the plane. I really like it. Okay, so we are clear of the road. That means we can probably start our engines now. But then again, we can start both at the same time, so it doesn't take all that long. So for that reason, I'm just going to delay the engine start a little bit here. Now tell me, what do you guys think of the raccoon mask on the new Air Canada livery? Write it in the comments below. And if you started writing now, just pause the video for a second. After the engine start, I'm going to tell you what I think of those raccoon masks. Okay, so I think this is looking good. Let's go ahead and commence our engine start. So, ground cockpit, we are starting our engines both at the same time. Roger. Engine start. Let's take some time here. I want to know how long it takes to start up those GENXs. Alright, engine start is in progress. And now with the engine start in progress, let's talk about the raccoon masks. I do have to say, initially I really was not a big fan of them. I thought they looked ugly. But I do have to add that now that most of the aircraft I fly actually have them nowadays, I kind of get used to it and they actually start looking pretty cool. Really have to say that. I really have to say that. They start looking pretty cool. And, well, they do have quite a good effect on the aircraft on which they're in use. So, well, I guess it's a win-win situation. Okay, flight deck, the push is complete. Set your brakes, please. Parking brakes are set. We have 2 good starts. You're clear to disconnect all the equipment. Prepare the airplane for taxi. And then I see you with a clear signal on the right-hand side, please, with a pin. Have a wonderful day. See you next time. Okay, that's 2 good starts. So, flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. And the rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Okay, before taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls, checked, ground equipment. Where are they? There they come. A little bit far aft if you ask me, but so be it. Okay, we just need the clear signal now. Alright, he's standing pretty close to the airplane actually. But here's our clear signal. Okay, ground equipment, clear, APU, off. V4 taxi checklist complete. You might be wondering why I didn't use the... flight control synoptic page on my flight control track. Well, there's actually good reason behind that. Boeing came to the conclusion that many flight crew members tend to just use those synoptic pages, but stopped actually feeling how the airplane actually felt in the controls, and that led to several flight control tracks being done where they actually missed something just because the hydraulic actuators are of course really strong. So it is really easy to overpower something which you would otherwise have felt in the controls if you didn't rely on them too much. Well, the result is that they no longer want us to use the flight control synoptic page in order to cross-check the flight control check. Oh, hello there. I kind of tried to become #1, but looks like Air Canada has proven me wrong. Looks like their A320 actually has priority. Okay, just tell me they're going to the same runway now. That's AI traffic for you there. Obviously with ATC that would have made things a lot easier. Well, so where is he going now? We stop over here. Where is he going? Nowhere. Another one waiting on the left, Air India. Oh, we want to go to the right though. Oh, there's a guy taking off on 15 left. Maybe they're just waiting for him. Okay, the dash is airborne. So, your turn to move, Air Canada. If you wanted to wait, you should have done it earlier. Here they go. Are they actually lining up on the runway? Looks like they're entering it to backtrack. That's interesting. At least that explains why they waited, though. though I don't really see the reason. Yeah, India is also backtracking, it seems. So now the big question is, do we want to take any bets whether any aircraft is going to enter the runway for a backtrack as we're about to take off on it? I would not be surprised if that happens. Not at all. Talk about artificial idiocracy, huh? Well, we are still gonna go over Bravo. Now the big question is, what's the AI logic? Is it going to hold any aircraft as soon as we enter the runway? Or in other words, do we just have to enter the runway and then wait for a minute or something until the AI has cleared it? Gonna be interesting to see how that's going to work. I've never seen them backtrack though. Really never seen them do that. Are we overtaking now? Oh yeah, they vacated again. That's really interesting. What is the AI doing there? Okay, traffic landing over there. And most importantly, traffic not flaring over there. Can't see anybody else on the approach though. So I tend to say we are good to cross. You see that? Yeah, looking good. Okay, clear to cross. We haven't received any cabin ready signal yet, but I suppose that's probably still either gonna come or perhaps just not simulated. Either wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so still clear on the approach. So crossing runway 23. Clear left side, clear right side. So let's start breaking it down. And we need quite a lot of brake pressure here compared with the 777. Went into the turn a little early then, but that shall not be too much of a problem. Okay, so line up runway 15 left. Before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, weather, terrain. We're just quickly going to do the lineup and then we'll see whether there is anybody backtracking. Looks like that guy's entering there. And I think there is one on the runway as well. Okay, the approach area is clear. Another guy still crossing, and quite a queue coming up. Wow. Good that we are number one in that queue. Okay. One guy on the runway still. Let's see if any new AI actually enters it while we are holding short on the runway. I would not be surprised if that happens, but We'll see. Okay, so that's our A320. The Air India 777 is going in front, it seems. 777 number 1, I do like that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 aircraft behind that. Okay, this gentleman over there is vacating. That looks good. Are you ready? Another guy is just crossing. Lots of traffic over here. But I think we are good to go now. So the second guy is clear. Runway 15 left, cleared for takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. $80 knots. Checked. Traffic crossing our runway up front. Interesting. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. LNAV. Okay, autopilot on. Let's enjoy some of those lovely views over here. And then we're just going to continue on the heading for now. Heading select. Just look at that. Downtown in the background there. Pretty nice, isn't it? Really pretty nice. Okay, so flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1. And flaps up. Speed check, flaps up. Here we go. Okay, anti-ice is auto. No, my friend, you are done. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. Okay, right turn heading 210. And continue the climb. Say 10,000 at first, and then something else later. That's a big golf course down there, isn't it? Those golf courses are usually really noticeable from the air. Okay, and where's our heading taking us? Just along the shoreline. I'd say that's actually pretty good. I do like how those clouds look over here as well. Like, they are really not all that big. That seems to be a typical overcast, as you would see it in the real world as well. And that is, of course, active sky, doing the weather for our flight. Okay then, heading 270. I tend to say we are high enough that we can take the turn without having to worry about noise too much. Okay, I tell you what, let's go direct to Beauville. Enter, execute, LNAV. TCAS off. Oh yeah, should have turned that one on. Little conflict in SOPs over there. I'm not 100% sure yet which one to follow. Now let's go ahead and continue the climb. I'm not 100% sure yet which one to follow. Now the main SOP for the Boeing 777, which is equal more or less to the 787, that I found turns the transponder onto TARA immediately when requesting pushback clearance. However, that is not standard procedure here in Europe, and indeed, a short time thereafter, I got my hands on another SOP, which states exactly the opposite, to use altitude off mode on the ground and then turn the transponder into TARA when lining up on the runway. I learned the airplane first using using TARA, but now I'm kind of trying to adapt that to the common practice that we're doing here in Europe, and that kind of leads to me forgetting the transponder from time to time. Of course, the huge size of the nav display just makes it a bit hard for me as well, since it is rather easy to just overlook it. Okay, so pitch is below 7.5 degrees. That means the seatbelts can go to auto. I'm going to wait with the lights until we are clear of the possibility for VFR traffic. That looks pretty nice over here as well with those clouds, doesn't it? Well, we're going to have the opportunity to look at clouds for a longer time on this flight, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. So let's continue into the flight levels. We'll start at flight level 300, and then we are going to have a look at what our Optimums has in a few moments. Okay, so Optimum 378, Max 416. I tell you honestly, we're faulting flight level 400, so if we just go up to 400 straight away, that's probably going to be easiest. Then we can spare the step climb, which would come rather soon. So 2022 the ETA, that's in 4 hours 10, looking quite good. Okay, we don't need the timer anymore, we have the elapsed timer. The clock or the chrono, I simply start that when I'm setting takeoff thrust, so that I got a better idea of how much time I have left until I need to get out of maximum continuous thrust. That can become relevant when you are flying under single engine conditions after takeoff, because the elapsed timer on the 787 as well as on the 777, if you've got the digital watches installed, the elapsed timer only starts when the air-ground system senses that the airplane is in the air. And, well, since that is about 30 seconds after you set takeoff thrust, using the elapsed timer can be a little bit misleading. Also keep in mind that the elapsed timer only shows you full minutes, it doesn't show you the seconds, and that means that you might end up using maximum or using takeoff thrust for about a minute and a half longer than you are allowed to. For that reason, I'm just using the clock, and as soon as the engines are back in climb, derate, plus when I have the time, I just reset the clock and then just use the elapsed timer down here. Okay, set standard. Standard cross-check passing flight level 184. Now. Checked. Okay, we're above 18,000, lights can go off. And that's it. With that, we now got 4 hours of flight ahead, so sit back, relax, enjoy the flight, and then I talk to you again when we start our approach into Vancouver. We're approaching flight level 200, about to continue our descent into Vancouver. Let's just talk about the approach a little bit before we get to actually fly down below the flight levels. So, you have already seen that I have done the setup, but I thought the terrain around here is so incredibly beautiful that I just couldn't stand not showing you a little bit more of that terrain on the approach. That means we gotta do the approach briefing a little bit later, but that is fine for me. So let's quickly have a look at a couple of the most important points. First of all, we are going to descend down 14,000, so set QNH please. So 1021, and that equals 1023. There you go. QNH 1021, cross-checked, passing 18.5 now. Checked. Okay, with that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the approach that we are expecting. So, here is the ILS chart for runway 08 left, ILS Zulu approach, and we've got a couple of basic things here that are all auto-tuned in the 787, so let's not bother too much with that, but let's talk a little bit about some of the basic elements of the approach that we're going to fly. It is going to start at an altitude of 2,000 feet at OMRAT, and looking into the legs page, we do have OMRAT in 2,000 feet right over here with a 3-degree glide path, which matches the chart, and we go down to a minimum of 213, which we have in our 787 as well. Now, for the missed approach, if we have to, don't exceed 230 knots until SASP, climbing left turn to 3,000, direct to SASP, as required shuttle climb. So in here, we literally just have the runway 420 feet, and then SASP 3,000 feet, 230 knots is all in. Okay, apart from that, we are arriving rather light, 7.2 tons on landing, 7.5 right now, so 300 kilos to burn. There's a landing weight of 169.6, so 169.6. If we have a look at that, flaps 30, 143 knots, a little bit more than what we predicted earlier, but still totally fine. Now we are going to vacate the runway off to the right hand side via Mike 3 and then taxi somewhere to the apron. Okay, and that's the easy part of these things. So then, with that, I'd say we have pretty much talked about our approach briefing, at least in the big summary. Now, if you're wondering how I'm finding out which parking spot we are going to use, then there is a nice little trick that we can make use of, and that is Flight Radar 24. Now, before we look at that, let's just continue our descent here down 10,000, let's say, and then we can have a quick look at Flight Radar to see what kind of data I am usually using. So, here it is, Flight Radar 24. And you can see that this is how I found out about the departure gate here. It's actually still open. And, well, this is about as far as the real-life flight has gotten so far. It departed at around about the same time where I started my recording. Well, and it's actually made its way already, so it's just about on downwind. So, as we can see, that looks pretty much like our route, doesn't it? Okay, and for the way in, they're on downwind right now, so we are just going to check again a little bit later to see where they actually parked. That way we get the most up-to-date data for our flights. I really have to say I do like that. Flight Radar is such a great tool, which is why I actually became a Flight Radar Gold member, and I decided to spend those, I believe it's $40 a year, something like that, in my opinion, very well invested money. Apart from that, time to turn on the seatbelt signs. This is a domestic flight, so the standard 15-minute rule should apply instead of long-haul ops, even though I did figure that from time to time there is a little bit of confusion between cabin crew who often fly more than one aircraft type, so the cabin crew might be flying short-haul regularly, while the pilots are just on one fleet. Now in this case, I'm not sure if Air Canada combines the 787 and 777 fleets, or if they separate the two from one another, but either way around, the pilots will only be flying the long-haul aircraft. And even though Air Canada does fly a couple of short-haul routes on their 787s, and I do believe on their 777s as well, they nonetheless still just operate under long-haul procedures. Now, whichever way this turns out in Air Canada, I'm not 100% sure, but I can tell you from personal experience that when you are flying short-haul routes on long-haul aircraft, then cabin crew will be familiar with short-haul ops. Pilots will probably not be so familiar with it, and things like, for example, when you turn on the seatbelt sign do usually differ between short and long-haul operation. To give you some idea, on short-haul flights in my company we turn the seatbelt sign on 15 minutes prior to landing, and in long-haul operations in my company we turn it on half an hour before landing. So, differences all over. Alright then, let's have a quick look outside and see what this beautiful 787 actually looks like. Wow, and see what that really bad frame rate actually looks like. That's interesting. Haven't seen the sim do something like this yet. Okay, tell you what. Back inside, I'm happy in here. I don't need to see any of that strange lagging of my simulator. Even though that was interesting, certainly never saw that before. Oh, look at that, we have it in the cockpit as well. That's interesting. Something is acting up, though I'm not 100% sure what it is. Probably frame rate generation, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you what, let's find out. Let's go into the settings here and see frame rate generation. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, let's turn that off, see what's going to happen. Apply and save. Go back. Yeah, still a little bit of lagging, but it just did become a lot better. Okay, so we turn frame generation off for the approach then. Might just about be the easier thing to do. Okay then, I tell you what, let's go ahead and expedite that descent a little bit. Approaching 10,000, that's the lights coming on. And let's just grab the latest weather one more time. Just to make sure that we are on the latest QNH. We can already see the airport down there, so nothing to worry about. And here we are. So, scatter 2100, broken 3200, 11 degrees, 3021. Perfect. Very nice. Approach checklist. Altimeters, QNH 3021. Approach checklist complete. Okay, let's help it a little bit to get down here. Number 1, thrust idle. Let's see what kind of rate of descent we're getting now. And if that suits our needs. Yeah, 2200 definitely does. Even though I don't really want to believe that the actual 787 would descend that quick without any speed brake. Like, the 777 gives you about 1,300, 1,400, something like that. The A330 even just gives you 1,000. And if you remember that, this rate of descent that we're getting here with idle thrust basically equals the drag of the airplane. Then, well, that gives us quite an idea of how aerodynamic the plane is. And if you ask me, the 787 is probably one of the more aerodynamic planes rather than one of the less aerodynamic planes. Ah well, that's just a little bit of thinking around. Okay, well, one thing that 777 does have though is very strong speed brakes. Let's see what we can get out of the 87. This is about half speed brake now. Oh yes, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Okay, so 10 degrees, about to enter clouds. We don't need to turn engine anti-ice on manually here, because the plane is going to do it by itself. Okay, a little bit of terrain on the right, we're aware of that. Can actually take that away. Okay, Omrad 2000. I think if we start our base turn now, that should be good. So, left-hand turn heading 100 for the base. Actually make that 170. And then we can start our speed reduction as well. Glide slope is coming into view. That's usually a good sign that we can start stowing the speed brake in a few moments. And just keeping it out a bit here to lose that speed first. Yeah, I think now we should be fine without. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. Then we can take Omrad on top. Looking good. And flaps 5. Speed checked, flaps 5. Okay, left hand heading 110, cleared ILS approach, Zulu, runway 8 left. Intercepting the ILS from slightly above, totally fine. At least that means we get to do a nice idle power descent here. Okay, approach is armed. Vertical speed 1500, flaps 15. Localizer capture, runway heading 082 set. Okay, we'll set the MCP to airbot elevation plus 100. Oh, sorry, plus 1000. Glide slope capture. Go around altitude 3000 set. Gear down, flaps 20. Flaps 30. Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. Thank you, checklist complete. Adding thrust again at about 1500 AGL, perfect. Okay, so everything is done, everything is prepared. Let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun, shall we? Okay, manual flight. I'm flying without the head-up display here, since, well, in Germany that's just not that popular. So to be completely honest, I'm not 100% comfortable with the HUD, even though it is a great tool, but nonetheless I kinda like to fly without it still. And let's be honest here, the 787 flight instruments are so excellent that I don't really see any reason why we would actually need the HUD. Is that people down on the bridge there? Must be an awesome spotting point here. Checked. Continue. Touchdown! So, spoilers. Reverse normal. "70 knots, manual brakes, auto brake." Okay, welcome to Vancouver. We'll just stop the airplane over here to check where the real one taxied. So, clear the runway. By now the entire airplane should be behind the line. Let's just check that that is really true. Yes, it is. Okay, so APU starting, lights are going off. Then auto brake is off, flaps can go up, spoilers up, and the transponder into alt off. Okay, that's the after landing procedure complete. And let's just have a quick view at flight radar to see where the real one taxied. So getting off and parking down here. Okay, that's fine. We can do that as well. So, quick look at Navigraph then to see which gate it actually is. Here we go, stand 46. Probably 46 Alpha, I expect. Let's see what we've got available in GSX, and that's going to be the one that we will take then. .46 Alpha. I don't care that the chosen position is too small for my airplane. We'll take it anyway. That's where the real one parked, my friend. Okay, and the radar's also coming off. Alright, awesome. Then off to the right. I would say that was an okay landing. A little bit of power to get the airplane moving a bit better. I really wonder what's the matter with the performance down here, though. You can see that even without frame rate generation, we still got a little bit of lag in here. And I guess that lag is probably what caused frame rate generation to go completely nuts. So it was a good thing that we turned that off. But nonetheless, you can see what I mean. A little bit of micro stutters here, or rather a little bit of extreme micro stutters here. And that even with my computer. Oh well. Might have to look into a couple of the settings, but, well. Okay then, taxiing in, Takeoff off is acknowledged, let's cancel that out. So then, gotta take Juliet to the left when it comes, and I have a feeling that Juliet is this one. Okay, speed is coming down, 10 knots, superb, and off we go. Alright, so our gate is going to be right over there. So we'll take the second to the left. APU running, very good. And since the APU is running, engine to shutdown. Okay, engine shutdown right is intentional. Interestingly enough, I can't really cancel that properly. That was interesting. And I don't know why the caution light comes up randomly. Okay then, 45 right over here. And since we're taking 45 alpha, that's going to be the dashed line, I suppose. Yeah, here we go. 46 alpha is the dashed line. A little bit of thrust to keep it moving, but definitely not too much. Okay, lights off. And here we go. Oh boy, I still forgot to turn off those numbers in GSX. That's gonna be the first thing I will do after this recording. Okay. So this should be good. Can't really see anything, huh? Okay, looks like we do need a little bit of thrust here. Not too much. And we'll have to talk with the marshaller about his positioning. Well, minus 0.3 is okay for me. So, brakes set, APU running, shutdown. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, shutdown checklist. Park and brake. Set, shutdown checklist complete. So, below 20%, beacon is going off, and that's it. Let's go ahead and order deboarding, and then we've done it. So, I do hope that you like this one. Let me know if you want me to fly that 787 a little bit more, and as always, I'm very much looking forward to your feedback on the flight. Now, if you know why we got those micro stutters, if it might be something with the FSIM Studio scenery, or if there's just anything known, then please do let me know in the comments below. And with all of that, all I can say is thank you very much for flying along. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, leave your like, comment, and subscribe if you're up for more. And if you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all again on the next one.